All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one podcast on innovative teamwork. It
That's
just
right.
feels so great. I know I say that to you guys every day, but it just never gets old. It's been so long. It's been close to 2 years now where this show has been number one every time you look up innovative teamwork. And it's because of you guys who tune in, the business owners, the folks that really, really are getting something from the show. So I truly, truly appreciate you guys. To my regular listeners, you guys already know how I get down, man. You hit the play button and something in your life's gonna change, something in your life. So whatever it is you're going through, whatever the challenge is, whatever the obstacle is, we are here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. Every time I say that statement, it is very true, but it is incredibly even more true, like more practically true today, because we have someone who is going to give us a master's class on the whole concept of virtual assistants. And hear me now, folks. AI mixed with virtual assistants. Now, you may have heard the virtual assistants thing, but the AI mix is something that is a difficult task for all of us. So, all that being said, Jenna Hatch, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Aswan. How are you?
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. And the thing is, what really intrigued me about your story is so there was a previous guest who I had a call with like right after our show, and I was telling him a lot of things that I was struggling with as a business owner. And it's, hey, the filing and doing all the outreach for guests and, following up with them and writing description, all the stuff that I just don't want to have to do as a business, but it comes on your plate. And then he made this suggestion. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. He made this suggestion of hiring a virtual assistant. And it just didn't work out because I didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know the first step or anything like that. So I say all that because your company, Project Outsource, it speaks to that need specifically. So I think the best way to kind of start this conversation is, take us through your background a little bit. How did you actually get to the point where you said, okay, this is where I'm going to plant my flag and this is where I'm going to really hone in and be like an expert at?
That's a fantastic question. And it kind of leads me into like my first joke of the podcast, which is I tell people all the time, if you take a look at my resume, what I've done in the past, it's trash, right? Like first laughing moment. And if you actually look at it,
Right.
it looks like I'm a job hopper. But if you actually take a closer look,
Mhm.
the common theme is I've always been trying to move up in the world, right? And so wherever the next opportunity has come is where I went. And I like to say I'm a Jill of all trades. And
Mhm.
I used to say master of none, but now I say Jill of all trades, master of anything I put my mind to.
Yes, most definitely.
Um,
Right.
and so I had a lot of experience in a lot of different industries.
Mhm.
And from 2019 to 2022, I was a PNC insurance agent and decided to make a change in 2022, went into the tech industry. And I'm not sure if you're familiar what happened with the tech industry and 2022 specifically, but every company was kind of like hiring like crazy just to fire everyone like 8 months later. So
But
that's exactly
this
how it.
is this is in the middle of COVID though. Did that happen? Because it seems like everything was going virtual. So at least from the outside looking in, I'm thinking that there's more people being hired to run tech or stuff like that. I feel
Yeah.
like that would be a need to people that can help with Zoom meetings and stuff like that.
Exactly. And so I'm sitting here thinking that I'm making like a really great life choice, like,
Mhm.
just making this move. But 8 months after I started with this tech company, I was laid off. But I was laid off right before Christmas. It was like not great. But that was the moment where I was like, okay, let's pause. Let's kind of evaluate what I've been doing, what I love to do, because I was lucky enough to receive a severance. And so that gave me some time
Yes.
to be able instead of being desperate to get into something else. I was
Hmm.
like, what do I really want to do? So when I took a look at everything that I've done and kind of like similar themes that have popped up over the years, the answer was business advisor.
Mm.
Now I was like, okay, everyone and their mom is a business advisor these days. So I don't want to just become another business advisor and fight everyone for, leadership coaching and whatever it may be.
Right. It's a
So I started
saturated
applying.
market. It's a saturated
It's
industry.
very saturated. Yeah. And you have to be able to set yourself apart, right? So I started applying to different jobs that at least had like business advisor in the title. And I got synced up with an Australian outsourcing company.
Hmm.
and they outsourced to the Philippines. So it was my job to build the business in the US. Um, Probably about 6 months into it, we just kind of started figuring out that this might not be the best fit. And I don't want to go into it because I want your listeners to get the real meat of why we're here. But
Yeah.
fast forward, and I officially launched Project Outsource in April of 2024. Essentially, I figured out. I always tell people I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but there's a bigger and better way to do things,
Hmm.
right? So I decided I'm going to do this myself. I officially launched April 2024. Here we are, January 2025. And it was kind of slow and steady in the beginning. When I first came into like the virtual assistant space, there wasn't very many companies doing it. But then I don't know, in the span of like 6 months, everyone popped up and now there's a million VA companies out there.
Hmm.
So similarly to I don't want to be, your run-of-the-mill business advisor, I
Right.
started thinking, how can I be different? So I actually was so fortunate. I was doing a discovery call with this woman one night, and she said, "Jen, I have to run. I have to go to this class downtown that is teaching solopreneurs how to build their business." And I was like, "Whoa, that's my target audience. How often does this class meet?" And she was like, "Oh, just once a month." And I was like, "Great. Thanks so much for hopping on the Zoom with me. I'll see you at the class."
Wow.
So we literally got off the Zoom call.
Hmm.
I went to the class, and that was kind of like the beginning of the entire shift of my business.
Right.
Because the person who taught the class, his name is Chris Lopez. Um, he teaches two classes, the digital nomad and the rising trend of the one person business. But
Right.
the themes or the message is the same, which is hire a VA, and he teaches you all these AI tools. And he's basically saying like land yourself a job if you're especially if you're like a digital nomad traveling around.
Right.
Land yourself a
That's a
job.
big term, by the way, digital nomad. I like that would easily have
That's
signed.
a
I
whole
had no idea. Like
other.
all of this setup, I was like, yo, I almost hired someone just to do this. Because
It's so impressive. I don't know how people do it, but yeah, I mean, I basically went to every single class of his. I think I missed three in total for the year. He taught two a month.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the message was basically get a job, use these AI tools to do that job, but also hire a virtual assistant to do or to use the AI tools. You collect the paycheck and right off into the sunset.
Yes.
And I was like, I think there's something to this because he didn't have a VA business. I did.
Hmm.
So I created this partnership with him, but I continued to go to the classes and I learned a lot. And I think the first couple of classes, my brain just kind of exploded with how much AI is already out there
Hmm.
and how much is yet to come, right? It's like new things are popping up literally every single day.
Right.
So I was able to take what I'm doing now is basically a hybrid of everything that I love. So to bring this full circle and to finally answer your question, I'm able to be a business advisor, right? Like I have a prospect coming in, hopefully a client, and we're
Hmm.
talking about their pain points, their short-term and long-term goals. We're talking about their current tech stack, seeing if it's serving them correctly.
Hmm.
I'm able to do the business advising, but instead of like speaking in hypotheticals,
Yeah.
I'm now able to get the manpower to execute these plans.
Right.
But then the next level of that is I still want business owners to think, how much are you worth per hour?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because I had a friend I was doing just like a virtual coffee with, and he said, "Yeah, AI is so great. It gets things done for us in the blink of an eye. And all the time that we're saving, we're repurposing into learning how to prompt the thing."
Yeah.
I was like, wow, what an interesting concept. I don't know about you, but when I get a new AI tool, I can go down the rabbit hole for hours, if not days, right? Like, how do I, no, it's not really what I want. Tweak it, tweak it.
Yeah.
How much am I worth per hour, though? Right? I should be out networking, out introducing people, passing flyers, doing whatever it may be, because that's the money, the revenue generating tasks,
Exactly.
right?
Revenue generate.
So that's where I'm trying to teach business owners now in order to get that multiplicative effect that you want in your business. You want to be able to hit the ground running and see results in months, right? Not years.
Yeah. Right.
In order to do that, use your AI technology, but hire a virtual assistant who is essentially AI enabled
Hmm.
to have them do it. And that's how you regain your freedom truly
Right.
and build your business at the same time.
Yeah, so there's a couple points that I don't I want to make sure they don't get brushed over as we continue. Is first of all, school never ends, guys. It never ends. This was long after her college years in which she decided I'm still gonna go to a class that's beneficial, that I'm gonna learn something that I can apply to my business. And obviously it turned out to be a great decision. Next point is you have got to know your target. All right. Everything that we're discussing, as soon as she heard solopreneurs in her mind, bang, that's exactly who I need to spend 99% of my time around is solopreneurs because I have the specific thing for them. You have to do that for you in your business. It's so often, so many of you guys spend so much time on your damn Instagram accounts and on your socials and all that stuff. A bunch of freeload, I call them freeloaders. So, a bunch of people that are not going to pay you anything, but they're going to hit a like button, and all of a sudden you're calling yourself in business. All right. Next thing that I definitely want to hear your thoughts on because you're a human. You're not just, the issue I have had running into finding a VA is talking to someone and paying someone that I don't know is actually, a human. I actually have a guy that does all my thumbnails now that I pay a little bit, but he's been with a whole year now and he knows specifically what it is I'm gonna be looking for. He knows how the brand feels and all that. So there's a human element to it. I'm curious now in your years where and I don't think your resume was trash per se, but you know, in your years in being an insurance agent and working in PNC, when you had to develop those people skills, how do you think that that was able to help in the business that you built now? Because you're dealing with customers. And again, in the insurance world, what I do know is that you do have to make the calls, you do have to shake hands, you do have to really give people a peace of mind to say, if this happened, as we're seeing, sadly, what we're seeing in California, I live out here in Florida. There's tons of natural disaster. Wherever you live, you're gonna have to deal with it. When you're giving people that peace of mind, did that have any effect in terms of how you build Project Outsource now?
100%. And that is such a fantastic question. I'm going to bring it back a little bit further.
Yeah.
I did go to school. I went to college for education, and I went to college for earth science education. So I tell people all the time, I'm a big nerd. Like I love rocks, right? Um,
Oh my God. I did one of those classes. You're better than me. I did one of those classes. I was like, yo, I need to get up out of this. I can't take it. It was
oh
a,
my God, I
a natural
love.
disaster class at Stony Brook. And I'm like, I don't know if I could do this, man. I don't know but you did it though. Obviously, we're in different paths, but I could not take it.
Well, I'll tell you this. I went to school for education, but halfway through my junior year, I dropped the education major because everything you just said, like, super resonated with me too. Like, I have like 15 different points I want to touch on.
Yes.
I just said, like, I'm never trying, I think maybe I've already said it, like, I'm never trying to reinvent the wheel, but there's a bigger and better way to do things. And so when I went to school for education, I like, the education system in my eyes, there's so much work that needs to be done. And I just didn't want to teach the way that they wanted me to teach, wait to get tenured before I can start effectively teaching the way I want to, right? I just couldn't do that. So I ended up dropping the
I am
education.
seriously I don't have kids yet, but I'm seriously considering homeschooling. I have friends, I have colleagues who have asked, how would it work? What would be, because this, I know I'm in the system, so I know how horrific it is. And to send my own to this system, I would be going crazy when you've been in it and you know how, like you just said, tenure and people, teachers teaching just for the test. And as soon as you get that test, you're good to go. It's a tragedy. It is an
It
absolute,
is.
I'm not preaching to the choir with you, but it's a mess.
It really is. It's such a mess. And so, oh my gosh, I already lost my train of thought. But so basically, that's how I started. And so, like, as far as relationships go, right? Going to school for education,
Mhm.
you learn that everybody learns differently, right? And so, I've always been kind of like a people person,
Yes.
but I want to like sidetrack just for a moment because we'll come back to human connections and what that means for
Yes.
Project Outsource. But I want you to think about the jobs that you've had in the past and specifically the jobs that you had great leadership in. Whenever
Mhm.
you had a manager, anyone in leadership that took like a little bit of extra time to talk to you, to go above and beyond, Like, did you not naturally work harder
Mhm.
because you were having fun, you felt appreciated, you knew that the effort that you were putting in, you were going to get back, right?
Yeah,
Like, I have multiple leaders that I could think about in my different roles, my different jobs that I've been in, who have literally molded and shaped my life similar to the teachers in our lives, right?
exactly.
Okay. Quick side tangent, bringing it back real fast.
Hmm.
Um, Project Outsource is very unique from other virtual assistant companies in the fact that I tell everyone we are human centric and I am a relationship based VA company.
Hmm.
There are so many VA companies out there that will just find somebody that checks your boxes. You need email management, you need social media management, posts, great. You're going to work with Bob one day, Susie the next,
Yeah.
Carol the next after that, because it's
And
a revolving
they're
door.
just looking at like, oh, did I send my 10 emails? They don't care where it goes. It could be.
They don't care.
Right, right.
They don't care. And you know, and I don't blame them either because I'm sure the conditions
Hey,
aren't great.
hey,
They're not getting
yeah,
paid
right, right.
what they deserve,
Mhm.
you know? And so Project Outsource is unique in that where I have literally had to turn away, and I'm a brand new baby business. Remember, I just launched April 2024. Here we are, January 2025. I've
Right.
had to turn away business. I'm in no position to do that. And because the person said to me, Jenna, don't we pay you to sift through the BS? So why are we interviewing people?
Oh, the potential client said that?
Yes.
Oh no. Right, right.
And I said, you know what? That's a really great question. I'm also going to let you know we're probably not a great fit for each other. And that's because there's a ton of companies that you can use,
Hmm.
but I want to find people that check the most amount of your boxes because that's the recruiting service.
Hmm.
But secondly, I want you to build a relationship with this person. In my eyes, a VA is not just someone to offload the grunt work to. It
Right.
is someone who, if you build a relationship with, they become a trusted partner um, where they're equally as invested in seeing you succeed as you are.
Hmm.
And, you know, now people are going above and beyond for each other. And, you know, it's not just a transactional thing, but you can literally it all works together with that multiplicative effect. And so again, to kind of in a long way answer your question, between insurance, between education, a lot of the other things I was doing, I've always been a people person, but I'm trying to teach people like that human centric is like AI is of the future. And is it taking over jobs? Yeah, absolutely. But at the end of the day, who is behind the AI? It's
Hmm.
still humans. And
Right.
we still have to remember that.
Right.
And that's where, even though my company has like we harp on the synergies between AI technology and hiring a VA,
Hmm.
we're also very focused on making sure that we all remain um, or we all keep in mind that we are all human and we make sure that human connection is still within business.
Right. And so, well, first of all, I think it's an important point that you made that you turned away business, not even being a year old. Knowing most folks that do get in the business, you would have taken the money just to get started. And it leads me to the next point that I really want to get your thoughts on is when you have to do something like that, that means you obviously have a very clear vision of who you want to help, who you want to serve, and you know exactly how much that person's making, what they're willing to pay, what you're worth, and all that. How has AI been able to align you with that person's vision more? Because I'll tell you, for me, I'm one of the stubborn people. Like I write my own articles. I was one of those, and actually it was my boy here who told me about ChatGPT. I'm like, I ain't doing it. I'm the creator. I'm a five-time published author. I'm not gonna go and have anybody else write my. But now, and it was actually on this show where somebody suggested, hey, you can write your articles, load them all up in ChatGPT, say, make sound like me, and then they just kind of become your proofreader that you proofread
Yeah.
it and make it. And then now, the productivity, there's basically a new article coming out every day from me because of that productivity piece. Now, I would have easily paid somebody to do that, or I don't know if I can pay somebody, but I'm thinking for you now, as you align yourself with that right business owner, how has AI been something that has benefited you so you get in front of the right people more often?
Absolutely. Kind of a tough question. And you made mention of it before when you said like, you know, I knew that solo entrepreneurs were like my target audience.
Exactly. And there's a lot of those.
And I want to like I guess like confirm for your listeners what we were saying about like you do have to kind of niche down, but that was extremely hard for me as well as I can, if something can be done virtually, I can hire anyone, right?
Yeah.
I can hire anyone, software developers, your
Yeah.
accountants, your bookkeepers. I could do pretty much anything. And so it's been a struggle. It's been a journey to really niche down myself. So I just want to let your listeners know, like, it's not an easy task.
Yeah.
But find something that you love and something that you're good at and just hone in on it. Because if it makes you excited, right, you're just
Yeah.
your passion will show through as well.
Right.
But part of what we do, and something that we are actually refining the process on, is we're doing this business process audit in the beginning. And I have two ways of doing that. Um, I'm in the process of creating what you had just said, like that custom GPT,
Yes.
where if someone doesn't necessarily have the time to sit down with me and do like that initial discovery call, that's totally fine. I'm also a big believer about information is free and it's what you do with it.
Hmm.
So quite often you'll see me just like doing demos for people, just, quote unquote, out of the goodness of my heart. I just like to do this for other people because I just believe that, karma will also come back around. But we
Right.
do this business process audit. We're in the process of developing a custom GPT where it'll be a conversational thing with like, hey, hey, Jenna, like tell me about your daily tasks. Tell me about how much time this takes up out of your day. Tell me about, and then it's going to score their business process from start to finish.
Mhm.
And then actually make suggestions of different AI automations that they could implement.
Right.
And then, again, the second part of that is we get the manpower, the VA, to be able to execute that. The other option that I have is to do exactly this, where we're hopping on a Zoom call, we're going through the audit in person in real time together.
Right.
I personally like that one a lot better because I can see people's wheels turning. I can see where they're struggling in certain areas or where like, when you can read someone's face, you could tell this is really their biggest pain point, right? And I might dig into something a little bit more.
Yes.
But what we do, every one of our VAs has a Fathom note taker. There's Fathom, Otter, there's a whole bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
Every one of our VAs has a Fathom note taker that comes into meetings with them. At the end, you get the transcript, you get, a list of action items or whatever it may be. Now, the really amazing thing about AI is, again, like you said before, talking your natural language,
Hmm.
make it sound like me, right? So, kind of right off the bat, as long as you're using the right tools, when we get this audit together, we get the report and we see where people are kind of suffering, we're able to pop that into ChatGPT or Claude or a million other different AI tools
Hmm.
and have it come up almost like with a plan to execute, right? And the
Right.
best part is because I'm taking the natural language of the client,
Yeah.
it is spitting out the process in their own language, not in mine,
Got it.
right? Because we all think differently as well. We all have a different process. And
Yep.
so
Right. Right.
taking the literal words of the prospect or of my potential client, plugging it into ChatGPT and saying, spit it back to me with an action plan in this language.
Hmm.
I just handed you a plan that sounds like something you would put together,
Right.
and it's already the extension of your brand and your tone. And so all the VA has to do at that point is just execute.
Right. And well, I think you just actually you taught a lot of people something just now when it comes to custom GPT. All right. Custom GPT is a huge, huge concept because it allows the human element to come into this world that you cannot stop from happening. I myself, if you go on when I first started doing this podcast 5 years ago, you couldn't, I had to do something. I don't even know if they took the transcript, but now you go to Apple, you go on Apple now, and the entire transcript is right there. And if I wanted to print it out, I could print it out and you could read it. You could turn it into an article. You can do whatever it is you want because now everything is being documented. So you don't have a choice, is what I want to get you there as an owner. You don't have a choice but to adopt this kind of stuff in your business, or you're a dinosaur. You just won't make it to the next because you're going to be trying to do too much of yourself. And then let's say you do have a staff, if you don't have someone in place that's training them how to use AI to help your business, folks. All right, it's not about this. See, this is where a lot of business, and I kind of get your point in terms of dealing with stubborn business owners, because you get into business a lot because you become an expert and you know you have the confidence, you have conviction, you have a lot of the good qualities that got you in business, but you got to humble yourself and say, I'm going to allow someone to teach some AI, but I have to teach it in my way so my company doesn't lose in this battle. It's a battle, folks. I mean, you can go to your grocery store right now and you're starting to see, hey, they're getting rid of folks that have attitudes and stuff like that when they serving, and they're just going right to the kiosk. They don't got time. We don't have time for funky attitudes and situations where you can be replaced. So that's a very, very important concept too.
You made such a great point just now, Aswan, that I would love to also expand upon, which is with business owners and you having your own style, right? Like I tell people all the time, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea,
Yes.
right? And you have to
Come
be
on,
okay with
you're a New Yorker. Come on, man. We know
oh,
that.
right, right. Yeah. What am I saying? Of course I'm everybody's cup of tea. Yeah.
We know
But
that.
I'm
Come
not,
on, man. That's the big apple right there.
I guess maybe I'm like extremely humble. No, but like I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. No, there's not going to be a point where every single person wants to work with me. Okay. And I think a really big problem these days in networking groups,
Hmm.
because the point you touched on
Yes.
is like, this is what I do, buy from me. This is what I do, buy from me. Right. And I'm so tired of going to networking groups, trying to build my business up and just people being like, yeah, this is what I do, not and not taking the time to try to better themselves or make their business function a little bit better.
Hmm.
Or the real words is refine your craft.
Hmm.
And so, as you're going through, as a business owner, you should always be looking. I mean, my business coach has told me, build the outside of the car so that people think you have it all together. And
Hmm.
then, while no one's looking, start building the inside of the car.
Building these.
And I love that analogy. It's like people definitely think, I mean, I project that I have it all together, but I don't think any of us truly have it all together.
Right.
And the second part of that is I have a big desire, which definitely holds me back sometimes, of putting out only perfect products,
Hmm.
which will hold you back in your business. Create version 1.0, have something for somebody. And
Right.
then again, kind of like when no one's looking, right? When you have lulls in your business, when you're not making sales, when whatever it may be, go back in and make version 2.0 and make it better,
Right.
right? So everything that you have as a business owner right now is probably version 1.0 or 2.0, but guess what? AI can take it to version 3 and 4 and 5. And
Right.
you don't even have to do that. If you have a vision of where you want it to go, again, you hire your VA, you tell the VA, this is where I want to take this.
Right.
Suddenly, you are refining your craft, building your business. And when you go into that networking group, you're going to be able to stay with confidence.
Hmm.
You should work with me because
Right.
I have a leg up on my competitor. I do this, I do that. Whereas the other person in the networking group says, this is what I do, buy from me.
Man, this is like insane, guys. I mean, you're literally like finishing my sentences because just as you said that, I was gonna say you have to. I was gonna actually employ the listeners. Like, you have to also have a very tight vision for what it is you want to be doing in order for anyone to help you, regardless of whatever it is you want to call it. Your vision of where it is you want to go in the future. That's your job to do, and it's not an easy job. You have to give a damn about the problem that you're solving. You guys,
I
regular.
have to add to that. I'm so
Okay.
sorry for cutting you off,
Go
but
ahead.
but that I have to
It
add to
happens
that.
on the show, by the way.
To your listener, if again, you don't have to go with my VA company, you can go with any other VA company. To your listeners, if you have something inside your head, you are the only person that can get it out of your head.
Yes.
Please do not expect the VA to be able to extract it out of your head.
Right.
Anytime someone says, like, oh, I don't have these processes set up, I'm
Mhm.
like, I mean, we can help build out your SOPs,
Hmm.
but I need to know your process. And more importantly, you have to know your process because you have to be able to relay that to somebody else.
Hmm.
And I have seen just, again, will turn away business if somebody is not there because people think I'm going to hire a VA, my life is going to get better.
Right.
And you're going to be throwing money out the window if you
Hmm.
have not developed that yourself yet. You have to do the work first.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot agree with you more.
Yes. So what would you say is the next phase to your business? Is this something that you're just going to stick with business owners on, or are you going to like work with schools? How do you see this thing growing and developing?
That's a really great question. I don't know if I've given it like that much thought, like
I didn't even
far.
realize if you look at it, I didn't realize it wasn't a year old. That's you kind of you taught me something on this. I didn't realize.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like in the beginning now, it's just been kind of like, making sure that we stay in the green, making sure that we're continuously growing.
Right.
But I will say this, we have had multiple ideas. So it started out as just a VA company, right? Hire us to do anything. Then we've shifted into this AI VA synergy um, company.
Right.
And I have plenty of ideas on how I want to build it. So, for example, like I said in the beginning, we make the joke, my
Right.
resume is trash. Whenever I've been in a leadership position and I've looked at somebody's resume, I've never actually put too much stock into what they've done in the past because I want to know what people want out of their future.
Right.
And so part of where Project Outsource is going is I want to be able to, I'm a big people lover and I want to be able to uplift people in general, right? Hence why I wanted to go to in the education world in the first place.
Exactly.
Um, and so I want to find aspiring VAs. And I've actually looked into creating like a VA boot camp. If you want to be a virtual assistant, but people who started back in the early 2000s have such a leg up on you if you
Hmm.
want to be a virtual assistant, but you don't necessarily have the skill set, I've looked into creating this boot camp. I also want to get it accredited
Hmm.
this way when someone goes through this Project Outsource boot camp and receives their certification, it's
Right.
acknowledged by the world or wherever that, oh, they went through this training, which means they must be 10 out of 10 in
Right.
virtual assistant services.
And it takes
Um,
a full circle back to that digital nomad class that you took.
I mean, everything what you also said, right? You never stop learning. Another one of my lines is every day is a school day.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
again, we are so mentally aligned. It's crazy.
Telling
But
you, man, I thought that homeschooling thing when it was somebody, it was the person who I hired as a coach. So he does shout out to Dre. He does regular live streams, and his son is, I believe, like 2 now. So I asked him how you make a raise. I have a better answer for you. Like he's convinced. He's not even considering sending him to a raise. He's like, no, I'm
yeah.
definitely homeschooling. So that'll be something we could definitely stay in touch with because that what you're teaching is so rare. And can you
And
imagine like putting this, exposing a young elementary school kid to this stuff now? I mean, they will rule the world. They will rule the
you
world.
have to take a look. There is an all AI school in Austin
Oh,
currently. And
already?
I live on the outskirts of Austin, and there's currently an all AI school. So there aren't teachers, there are like it's kind of like a camp counselor, right? But I'm definitely not doing it justice, but they're like coaches and they're just guiding these children. And
Hmm.
so, I mean, this all AI school, look into it because it's mind blowing. They've already done a
Yeah.
project where the children are running Airbnbs. And now they have a new project where the children are running food trucks and
Exactly.
it's teaching real life skills,
That's what you
but
need.
it's AI guided and they're learning your standard math, but AI understands if you're understanding the concept of math, not necessarily like,
Acquire.
did you do this first, second, third, show your work, but like, do you understand the concept? Can we move on? And I think that's another like
It's
that
new.
we got to start talking more about that because I think
Yeah,
it's
we
pretty
do.
big,
Man, I
you
hope my
know?
nephew are listening to that because they're one's what 15 and the other one's gonna be 13. So they definitely are in that world.
So cool. So cool. I could go on all day long, but
What is the
overall,
what's if anyone's listening though, what's the best way to get in touch with you if they want to hear more?
yeah. So you can go to my website, which is projectoutsource.co. It's .co because building your business is a collaboration.
Oh, nice. I
And
didn't
then
realize
all.
do that. I
A
thought it was,
what?
see, that's why you see how I thought it had to be .com. I didn't even realize you could.
Oh, well, I have t-shirts made, and yes, I have one over here that said it's .co because .com is too common and building your business should be a collaboration.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Uh,
Like, there'd be stuff like when you said digital nomad, it's like, yo, there'd be stuff I'd be having to ask my students about. It's like, okay, so you do this, like what? Okay, okay, cool. Like you would think I
yeah,
would know, but I'd be having to ask like the younger crew how to get me right with the technology stuff.
absolutely. And I don't know everything in the world, and there are so many people that know more than me, and I'm just a sponge. But and all of my like social media handles on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, it's just backslash Jenna M as in Marie, Jenna M Hatch. So you can find us on all socials as well.
Excellent. And that will be included in the show notes as well. So, Jenna, the final thing I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are back to, let's say, 2015, 2016. You're job hopping here, you're job hopping there. You're not really nailed down a career, but you're just kind of going with the flow. Pretend that Jenna is here in the Zoom room with us. Give her some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
Oh God, I love how you end that. Um, words of encouragement is I know you think you have this path in front of you, but you need to trust that there are bigger forces at play. Just keep doing what you're doing because you are already a firm believer and everything happens for a reason. You're in the thick of it now. You're about to pop out on the outside. You're going to be able to look back and see it all made sense as to why that happened. So just keep going.
1000%. And, again, if it's your first time here, the reason I do close out with that question is because if you're going through that personally, the promise of the show was to, again, indirectly help you with whatever you may be going through. So, all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.